This is a regular school board meeting. Today is April 3rd, 2012. It is approximately 5:30 p.m. and we are here at the Administration Building, 1900 Price Road. Moving on to item 2, moment of silence, followed immediately by Pledge of Allegiance. As we have our moment of silence, let's please remember the following individuals. Josephine Ann Joe Burnett, who passed away on February the 22nd. Tania Tijerina, away on the 9th of March. Juvenal Torres, one of our students, passed away on the 24th of March. And Manuela C. Lopez, who was one of our paraprofessionals, who passed away on the 25th of March. So let's keep them in mind as we have our moment of silence. And then immediately afterwards, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance. Flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I could say.
Thank you very much. Moving on to roll call. All board members are present. Moving on to item 5, recommend approving the agenda of the regular school board meeting of April 3rd, 2012, with any corrections or deletions. Dr. Montoya.
Excuse me, we didn't circle.
Okay, well, can we approve the agenda, Dr. Montoya? And then we'll move on to the consent agenda, and I guess then we can take all the numbers that we should have already taken.
Mr. President, members of the board, there is a one item, number 36 in personnel. If you will pull that item, that will not be considered this evening.
Okay. Item 36 is pulled. And did anybody have any?
And that is it, sir.
Okay. Did anybody have any other items to circle, Mrs. Longoria? Well, I guess Dr. Saavedra. or Mrs. Peña, and then we'll go. Okay, 21.
I'll go back to 13.
15.
21, 2, 27, 28, 31, 34. And that's it.
Okay, Mrs. Peña.
13, 18,
Mrs. Longoria.
38.
Is that it? Is that it? Mrs. Presas?
No, I think they got them already.
Okay, and you already gave to. All right, with that said, we'll move on to item 6, recommend approving the consent agenda of the school board meeting. The board has agreed to discuss and or deliberate on the following items. The following items will be discussed. Items 13, 18, 21, 22, 24, 27, 28, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, and of course consultation with the attorney. Well, 38, we don't have to circle it. So one more time, the following items will be discussed and or deliberated. 13, 17, 18, 21, 22, 24, 27, 28, 30, 31, 33, 34, and 35, and consultation with attorney. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
We'll automatically review 38.
We all automatically review 38.
That's fine.
I have a
Motion.
by Mrs.
Second.
Longoria, seconded by Mrs. Presas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Superintendent's Report Conference Presentation Number 1. Recognition of 2 BISD employees, Raul G. Cervantes, book author, and John Aguilar, book illustrator. Dr. Montoya.
Mr. President, members of the board, audience, we're very proud this evening in that we have two excellent employees in the district that have put together a book that has been published by a publisher, and it has to do with basically acceptance of students with special needs in a book. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Sandra Lopez.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Montoya, Board President Dr. Escobedo, and members of the board. It is my pleasure to come before you to please join me in recognizing two BISD teachers who jointly had the first book published titled Hilda's B Special Home. I would like at this time to invite Mr. Jerry Cervantes, who is a music teacher at Bright Elementary, who is the author of the book, and Mr. John Aguilar, who is an art teacher at Garcia Middle School, who is the illustrator of the book, to please come up here and be recognized for their accomplishment in the literary world of having the first book published. Recently, Mr. Cervantes has been invited to submit his new book, Hilda's B Special Home, for consideration in the book category for the Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities annual Barbara Jordan Media Award. At this time, let's join and congratulate these two wonderful BISD teachers who are a representation of Brownsville ISD educators' finest force. Congratulations.
Wow.
I would also like to add that I was very fortunate to have worked with Mr. Cervantes and Mr. Aguilar at the campus level a few years back, just a few years. I hope they will remember their colleagues as each one strives to become a world-famous author and illustrator. So congratulations to both.
Congratulations. Job well done.
Thank you.
I'd like to make it a copy because I read next week and I'd like to read it to all the kids. Wonder you're so good. Thank you. I'm gonna get a copy to read it with your permission or library.
Congratulations on your accomplishment. Yes. Congratulations on your accomplishment.
Good job. Great job.
Great job, sir.
Let's have a picture.
Do you have a copy of the book? So we can take a picture with it right now. Yes. It's a really pretty book. I coached his son with in baseball the last 3 years. He was called his father, but he was actually too.
You're gonna live with wives, so she's good in there too.
Just give us a big smile.
Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, we have ordered that item for each of you, and as soon as it comes in, we'll make sure all the board members have a copy.
Great, a signed copy, right?
Yes, will we get a signed copy?
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. And congratulations, Mr. Cervantes and Mr. Aguilar. It's quite an accomplishment. You know, it's everybody's dream to write and publish a work of any type, of any discipline. So congratulations, Mrs. Presas.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate both of you. Let me say this, that when we travel throughout the nation to meet with other board members and other colleagues, one thing that I can assure you is that we always emphasize how proud we are of our education and that we have here, because of our educators are the ones that make things things happen. And it's people like you two that continue to focus on the needs of our children and understand that not everybody learns the same way, and that everybody's very unique and very special, and that you have to reach out to certain children a certain way. And I applaud you and I thank you, because we're scheduled to go to another convention real soon, and believe me, we will talk about you guys, and we will emphasize that this book is something that children should read and look at. And for Mr. Long, that you're here, these are stories that we would like to share with the community as well, so they know what great teachers we have on staff and how we need to continue to grow with them. Thank you.
Mrs. Peña?
Again, thank you for putting us on the map in the country. I'm very proud of you guys. And to do it at this level with such beautiful colors, I thank you and I applaud you, because you make us so proud. Thank you.
Some questions? If not, we move on to item 2, recognition of career technical education skills USA winners. Dr. Montoya.
Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, we have in BISD some of the best students in terms of the technical education skills area. We tend to do very well at local, district, and state. We also have from Hannah, Mr. Teagarden, the teacher who in his own right is one of the most successful in Texas and has taken Hannah to many levels with his students. So at this time, Ms. Monfiles, if you'd like to go ahead and do that presentation.
Mr. President, Dr. Montoya, members of the board, I will turn the podium over to Mr. Maury Werner, interim administrator for CTE.
Dr. Montoya, board members, it's my pleasure to introduce Jack Teagarden, the educator who has brought these kids to this point. Jack?
Mr. President, board members, superintendent, administrators, and audience. The Hannah High School drafters competed at the Texas State Skills USA Finals held in Corpus Christi 2 weeks ago. They were outstanding and won the state title in all drafting fields tested. The team garnered 5 Texas State championships, a national officer candidate, and 13 state job exhibit ribbons. Brandon Comesienko, Skills USA State President, took the Texas title in architectural drafting. Rebecca Gracia three-peated. She won the state title in mechanical drafting for the 3rd year in a row.
All right.
Wow.
Ricardo Pena captured the technical drafting state championship. Caroline Guetta, who is at a tournament right now, won the architecture best of show state championship for architecture, engineering, and design project, which was a hurricane house for Padre Island. Ricardo Pena completed Texas State Championship sweep by winning his 2nd gold medal of the year. He took the best of show for his engineering, drafting, and design project. Alyssa Uring won the right to represent Texas and fight for a national officer position. Michelangelo Sosa received a 3rd-place bronze medal in engineering technical knowledge. At the National Skills USA Leadership and Skills Convention in June, Alyssa Uring will be running for a Skills USA Region 4 Vice President's office. Brandon Comesienko and Ricardo Pena will compete for the nation's engineering and architecture titles. In the past 20 years, Hannah drafters have captured 49 Texas State championships. They have won at least one Skills USA state title every year since 1994.
Woohoo!
If students, if you come up here and so we can congratulate you, please.
I'll hear all the jingle. Congratulations, great job, congratulations. Good luck with your election. Congratulations. Congratulations. Good luck. Thank you, sir, for everything you do. Thank you. I saw it, sure. Congratulations. You look good.
Congratulations. Very proud of you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Very proud of you.
Congratulations.
Dedication.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We're very proud of you. Congratulations, good luck. Thank you. Congratulations. We're very proud of you.
I love her height.
Students, if you'll come back here for a picture.
Congratulations, sir. Awesome job.
Again, once again, the winner circle here.
Good job, Mr. Teeter.
I'll stand over here, yeah.
We'd like to have the honor of reading. Right here towards the middle. Both of you also? Both of you?
Yes.
Yes, very important.
Great job, students.
Good job. Congratulations.
And congratulations again to all of our students that participated and did well on this Skills USA. They continue to make us proud and wish you the best in all of your future endeavors. Moving on to item 3, the recognition of Michelangelo Sosa for obtaining the highest score on the technical drafting architecture test and Skills USA State Texas State Competition. Dr. Montoya.
Again, our students continue to succeed, and if Mr. Sosa, our student, would please come forward. Let me give this one here. If you'll come over here and.
Wow.
Congratulations, sir. Yes, you can go ahead. We'll wait for you. We kind of did it, Doctor, sorry. I know, he went straight for the middle. Yeah, you can go to the side.
We'll get the rest of them.
Okay. Congratulations once again, sir.
Are you going to stamp?
Recruit, never stop recruiting.
You can take Junior.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, congratulations.
Congratulations and best of luck on all your future endeavors. Moving on to item 4, monthly report from the BISD Construction Bottom Site Committee. Dr. Montoya.
Mr. President, members of the board, again, this is a committee that was appointed by the board a couple of years ago approximately, and we get reports periodically on issues related to construction. Mr. Haynes, if you'll go ahead and on that item.
Thank you, Dr. Montoya. Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. With your permission, I would like to call Dr. Ronaldo Garcia to present the monthly report from the BISD Construction Bond Oversight Committee. Thank you.
Dr. Garcia, welcome.
President Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, Dr. Montoya. My name is Ronaldo Garcia from the Bond Oversight Committee. I'm here to report to you in our last meeting of March the 1st. Our president or chairman, Bush Barbosa, could not be here this evening. We met at the Palo Alto Support Service Center's Maintenance Department on Robindale's Road, where Mr. Garza gave us an excellent update report on the 2010 Qualified School Construction Bond projects, as well as a financial summary report by Mr. Ismael Garcia. Mr. Garza brought us up to date on the very unique Brownsville Academic Center, which is 94% complete, and on the Brownsville Early College High School, which is 65% complete, and on the ADA for elementary schools, and on very good news on the change orders for the credit back on the Porter Instructional Facilities. We got back $109,400 from the Hannah Performing Arts Instructional Facility. We're going to get back $280,000. And from the Brownsville Academic Center, we're going to get approximately $300,000. So that's very good financial news for the district. However, the ADA deficiencies gave the committee the most concern. There are 27 schools that Mr. Garza reported that are not in compliance. And there was special concern in 3 of the schools that are most expensive to fix, and 2 of them are very old. Resaca from 1931 and Villanueva from 1935. The recommendation that the committee wants to make to the board and to the administration is to make a decision what you want to do with these schools before investing a lot of money into them to bring them up to date with the ADA requirements. Because if these schools need that much work to be done, there was concern for the safety of the children, their discomfort and their displacement, and then, of course, the risk management that is exposing us to possible lawsuits. And also, Mr. Garza wants to change the approach as far as bringing the schools into compliance. Instead of only completing some of the requirements in some of the schools and leaving some other ones uncompleted, he wants to go ahead and complete all the deficiencies in every school and finish that school and move on to the next. This way, he can complete several schools in 1 year. And we already have the funds to do that, and we're supposed to be moving on to that. We have $1 million to start with those ADA deficiencies to be in compliance. And another issue that was discussed was the need for a second ramp, ADA ramp, at the new Hannah Performing Arts Instructional Facility. There's already a ramp there on the parking lot side of the building, but there was concern during, and a complaint actually during the dedication, that there's a lack of one in front of the building. And Mr. Garza has already tended to that, and that's going to cost us about $2,500, but that's taken care of already. After the presentation Mr. Garza and Mr. Garza and Garcia gave us, we drove next door to the Brownsville Academic Center, where Mr. Garza and Mr. Mike Alex, the architect, gave us a very good tour of the unique specialty school, which is designed to meet the needs of the students with special issues with discipline. It is a campus unlike any other campus, but it looks like a regular campus. The difference is in the way it functions and the specifications. For example, the classrooms are a ratio of 15:1. The gym is a mini gym. The cafeteria is only a warming cafeteria. The labs do not have any flammables or hazardous chemicals. And the students will begin the day at 6:30 in the morning, and they are dropped off by the parent or guardian, and they are picked up at the end of the day the same way. These children are not, the students are not bused to the school for safety reasons. The only children that are buzzed there are the special education children. They begin and end the day in an impressive, huge gazebo-like structure where they are processed and checked for weapons and drugs. And this is done again for the safety of the students, the faculty, and the staff. And the school has a capacity of 625 students. Also, the architect was very creative in the color schemes he gave to the walls and the floors, trying to bring this school to a brighter and cheerful environment, because the students need to feel that they are not being treated as second-rate students, that they are not stepchildren of the district. And these students are actually smart and they're actually leaders, but they're directing their energies in the wrong direction. And the focus of this beautiful facility is to mainstream these students back into the normal classroom setting and restoring their self-esteem as well as their social skills. Now they have a beautiful facility that they can be proud of that is conducive to changing their behavior for the better. And at this time, I want to congratulate the board and the administration for giving these students a beautiful facility and giving them the same opportunities at a quality education as the rest of the students. If there's no other questions, this concludes my report.
Question comes from the board? If not, thank you, Dr. Garcia, for your very detailed report and for your dedication to this very important committee. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Moving on to item 5, presentation on the BISD financial report for the period ending January 31st, 2012. Dr. Montoya.
Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, again, this is a pretty standard report that the board receives. If you have any questions, Mr. Garcia is here to answer those.
Comments from the board? Ms. Longoria?
On page 17, it's the Food Service Fund 101. The local revenues, budget adopted was 200,000, and then budget adjusted 200,000. Actual to date 483,000, and then balance is 483,483. Is that a credit? Is that a positive?
Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
Dr. Garcia, Dr. Escobedo, yes, remember that when you show the negatives in the revenues, it's actually a positive.
Okay, so I want to congratulate food service for working real hard in bringing up their budget.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Moving on to item 6, presentation on proposal for local policy FFE on response to intervention. Dr. Montoya.
Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, I'll turn that request over to Ms. Monfiles.
Dr. Escobedo, Dr. Montoya, members of the board, this is a request for a local policy on response to intervention. You are well aware that we have been working under the auspices of response to intervention in math, reading, English language arts, and discipline for a significant amount of time, but we had never actually formalized a policy, and so we finally got that done, and we're bringing this for your consideration, and we'll bring it back, of course, for approval at a later meeting. It's quite specific, outlines all the state requirements, refers to campus and district teams. We have campus teams in place. We have our district team in place. This is formalizing the entire process and putting it in writing.
Ms. Monfiles, comments or questions of the board? If not, we move on to item 7.
Thank you, ma'am.
Information regarding a possible survey on BISD employees' atmosphere. This is a board member request by Mrs. Peña. Dr. Montoya.
Ms. Peña, I believe you had a comment on that, ma'am.
Well, just the process, and if someone could make a presentation what the process is like, and what I emailed. Nobody got my second email. What the presentation? What's the? I was told that it was at the end of the year. They do.
That's correct, ma'am.
And see, what if we can get a copy of the ones that we've had for the last couple of years. See where they stand, kind of to look at them. So if there's a presentation, what the process is, or how does it work? Do you go on an email? Is it anonymous? Just a presentation of what the process is,
okay,
in case some people don't know how to use this to be able to express, what they're feeling or what the needs are of the district. I wanted to see if we could do a presentation so we can kind of educate everybody as a whole all at one time, because sometimes people are embarrassed to ask how to do it, because then they feel they're going to know they're going to do it. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, and they pose that, why don't we have a presentation to give everyone the steps of how to do it, to make sure everyone participates at the end of the year.
So, Dr. Montoya, did you get that?
Yes, sir. We will put something together, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, that was my.
Thank you very much. Moving on to standing board agenda items, board calendars. Dr. Montoya.
Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, just a couple of things. This coming next week, there's a national high school chess tournament in Minneapolis, Minnesota, April 13th to the 15th. And also we have the state VASE competition in Houston, which VASE is Visual Arts Scholastic Events activities. So, those are the only announcements, sir.
Thank you very much.
We have a meeting?
Board meeting?
Budget meeting? Budget committee?
Budget is on the 19th, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public audience. The next item on the agenda is a public comment period. This is a time for citizen, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of this meeting, so please let us hear from you now if you have comments to present. If you have comments, to have your comments heard tonight, you must sign in the sign-up sheet, which is located in the rear of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to no more than 5 minutes, possibly 3 minutes today.
3 minutes with the list.
Yeah, 3 minutes according to this list to complete his or her comments, and with all due courtesy, I will strictly enforce that time limit. If a group of people, and this is important, especially tonight, if a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that you designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. And because I cannot read this handwriting on the subject to be discussed, I cannot tell what it reads or what it says or what your concerns are. But if many of you want to talk on the same subject, I will ask that you designate a spokesperson so that we don't have several employees speaking about the same thing, and that eats up times from the other people that wish to speak, and we would like to hear from them as well. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment or complaint meeting after meeting. All participants must understand that if your comments, in my judgment, constitute a complaint against an employee or an officer, I will interrupt you, stop you, and direct you to proceed with BISD formal grievance procedures, be that DGBA, FNG, or GF local. And the attorney is going to help me enforce this. If I do hear a comment against an employee or an administrator, I will immediately stop you. So please be prepared to stop if you so choose to mention a name of an officer or an employee. We will not use this as an place to come and abuse the public comment. With those cautions in mind, we will not be glad to hear your general comments. And again, because I cannot read this writing, I don't know if many of you want to be speaking of the same thing. We'll start with, I think it's Rosa Arnold, Coral? No? Okay, Maria, I can only read the first name, Maria Yu, FTAs.
Good evening, Dr. Escobedo, Dr. Montoya, members of the board. My name is Maria Villafranca, and I work as a paraprofessional in BISD, in the BI unit. I have worked for the district for 2 years as a paraprofessional, and before that I substituted for 3 years as well. I graduated from UTB in 2006, and I am a certified Easy through 4th bilingual teacher. I was excited to hear that earlier this year, in January to be exact, about the Future Teacher Academy, BISD would be offering that program for certified and degreed personnel only. I was one of several people on my campus who met these requirements. In January, when notifications of the first cycle of the FDA were sent out, I was having difficulties with my BISD logging information. I was not able to get on my computer. And I did not find out about the first meeting until it was already in process. It was about noon time when I found out, and the meeting had taken place at 9 a.m. that morning. I was told that there would be a second cycle that would start in April, but I missed out on the first time. I was told that there would be a second cycle that would start in April. When I missed out the first time, I sent emails to the appropriate people to continue to show my interest on this wonderful opportunity. Sadly for me, I was not included on the second cycle, even though my name had already been included in the first list. If this is happening to me and several other my co-workers, I'm talking about my campus, then how many other people in the district are also being mistakenly excluded? I am asking administration to consider adding all of us who were not able to attend the first meeting in January, Jet, who worked for the betterment of our students and are a product of our colleges. As I said, I graduated from UTB, and who won the opportunity to teach in BISD. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Villafranca. Our next speaker is Miller, and she will be speaking of concerns.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, superintendent, administrators, the public here, and the public at home. I only have two things to say, and please do not shoot the messenger. My two things, one is the bus drivers. I just want to clarify with what I understand in the newspaper, in the media, that most of the bus drivers are full-time and they're guaranteed 32 hours, and they have benefits. Now, when it comes to this, the reason they have 32 hours is because so they cannot access the overtime. When it comes to the overtime, it's here only in the valley that we can be blessed to not have a degree and not to speak the English language well or not to speak it at all and still have a full-time job. And for that, we are very blessed. With that, it comes to sudden disappointment that administration tries to work with a lot of people according to the newspaper, but then it seems still that some way, somehow there's a miscommunication because some way for a few, por uno sufren todos. And there's usually a couple of bad apples here and there, but with that, again, I just want to go ahead and say that sometimes overtime runs to between $500 and close to $1 million. So if you can kind of like look on that, that's one of my concerns. The other one is they usually have at the county, at the city, where they have 35% that is full-time and 65% that is so with that in mind, if we're trying to go ahead and tighten the budget, there's many avenues that we can do it. And for all those people that are here, I support all the bus drivers and I support administration, but there's sometimes that you have to go ahead and make do with what we have. And with that, I just want to go ahead and go to the last one. I want to go ahead and congratulate the new AOBE president. I hope that I can go ahead and put a challenge to him and that they can go ahead and lower the or stop the payments that they do for car allowances and fringe benefits. If they can go ahead and please here publicly, I can challenge the AOBE president where they can go ahead and stop going from $7 to $25 and the $14 for the certified teachers at $50. And that comes that every time they get a increase, they go ahead and get a certain percentage. And with that in mind, thank you very much. I know I took less than 30 minutes, or the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Our next speaker is George Borrego. The subject is Stop the Cars. Oh, cuts. There's something about today's handwriting that's not helping out.
No, I got it. Thank you. May I get ready, Mr. Michelle? My time hasn't started yet, has it?
It has not.
Awesome. Ms. Miller, you're using the wrong venue for what you're discussing. We have board meetings that you can attend. Unfortunately, you're not a board member or an AOBE member. Today I'm here with some good news, I hope. Stop the cuts. I mentioned it at the last meeting, and we're passing out the petitions as we speak. We presented them to the superintendent, who has graciously allowed us to continue with this project because it crosses all barriers. We are all united in this effort to get our legislature to fund public education as they should. We want to stop the education layoffs. We want to stop crowding in the classrooms. We want to stop teaching to the test. Even our commissioner was a little confused about our test. And we want to stop the cuts with no new taxes. And where is this money? But in the rainy day fund that has been growing as we pay more for gasoline, that fund keeps growing. And it's going to be probably up to about $9 billion, if not 11, within the next year. We can fund the cuts that public education got hit with just from the rainy day fund without raising any taxes whatsoever. I ask this board and this administration to join us in signing this petition so that we may be able to present this to Governor Perry and hope he listens. And if he doesn't, we are at least starting the conversation as early as possible that education should be, as it was on his platform, a top priority in Texas. We must take care of our children. If we do not invest in our children, we are not investing in our future. And this state will go down the drain. I hope that is not what they want. So I ask you to join in signing the petition, and we will be bringing some staff from Austin in April the 29th through May the 5th to start canvassing the campuses so that we can get as many signatures as possible. If we can present 5, 10, 15, 20,000 signatures to the governor, as well as the other associations in the state, we will make a difference. We will make an impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Borrego.
Oh, I also ask the audience to sign.
Thank you, Mr. Borrego.
Thank you.
Mr. Cifuentes, are you going to talk about transportation? Mr. Cifuentes? Are you talking about transportation? Yes or no?
Wait to get to the mic so you can hear him.
So are you going to talk about transportation? Okay, because it's
Good afternoon.
Because it's you,
Honorable
Mr.
President of the Board,
Sir,
board
sir,
members,
hold on, sir, hold on.
Superintendent, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Cifuentes, please hold on. Because it's you, Patrick Hammis, Fernando Galvan, etc., talking about the same topic. So who's going to talk about transportation? Who's going to be your spokesperson? Is it you or Patrick Hammis or Fernando Galvan? You all of you, etc. Fernando Galvan and drivers. So who's going to be your spokesperson? You or Mr. Hammis or Mr. Galvan?
If you excuse me, Mr. President, I am the solely representative for Texas School at Will Employees Organization. If you allow me to present myself.
Okay, so then
we
Mr.
are different
Hammis
groups.
and Mr. Galvan are
My
not
name
gonna
is
speak.
Francisco Cifuentes. I represent
Mr.
Texas School
Sir,
at Will Employees Organization.
Cifuentes.
I don't have nothing to do with Mr. Galvan or his association.
Okay, so they're not going to speak then. I just wanted to be clear. Unless you're going to speak on different topics.
Yes.
Okay, they're going to speak about different topics. Okay,
Yes,
go ahead,
okay.
Mr. Cifuentes.
And this is the first time this comes in this manner because you have to respect every organization, no matter how small it is. My name is Francisco Cifuentes. I'm the representative for Texas School at Will Employees Organization. And I'm here today, sadly, because I remember the last time I saw this many people, concerned people from transportation, was probably about 10, 12 years ago when you, the school district, decided to take their one of the pay grade levels from 3 to 2. It was the monitors. You were trying to reduce their pay and their grade. Luckily, it didn't happen. So that was like 10, 12 years ago. Today, I can tell you that this could have been avoided have you, the district, decided to keep the communications open with all the employees, and it did not happen. It did not happen. That's why you had so many people outside and a demonstration, and you need to keep communications open, to care about what they have to say about their employment and their department. And I'm going to respectfully ask you to allow me to speak in Spanish because most of you speak Spanish, and they have asked me to try to speak Spanish so they can understand what we're talking about. Would you allow me to speak Spanish?
Of course.
Okay. Miembros de la mesa directiva, honorable presidente de esta mesa, superintendente, esto no estuviera pasando hoy si ustedes hubieran guardado la línea de comunicación abierta, de que se les tome en cuenta, porque en administraciones pasadas, como yo les mandé una carta hace unos días, que todas las administraciones, muchas administraciones pasadas, les pedían su punto de vista, tenían comités de cómo se trabajaba en el departamento, qué eran sus puntos de vista, cómo se podía mejorar el departamento. Se perdió esa comunicación. Restablezcan esa comunicación para que ellos no tengan que hacer estas cosas tan drásticas. Abran la puerta de comunicación para ellos, pídanles qué es lo que necesitan. Se necesita guardar esa comunicación abierta en todo momento. Han pasado muchas cosas últimamente, ya hace muchos meses, quizás yo tengo como 2 o 3 años que no tenía un grievance en transportación. Desde que el señor Chirinos estaba ahí de director, no teníamos ningún grievance, ningún agravio pendiente ni nada, porque todo se resolvía, se abría la puerta para que ellos vinieran y presentaran su problema, y la mayor parte del tiempo la resolvíamos, teníamos una reunión y se resolvía el problema. Ahora parece que falta esa comunicación. Por favor, guarden esa línea de comunicación. Esperamos que los cortes no sean tan drásticos
Time has expired.
y que sí se piense en un aumento de salarios próximamente. Gracias, muy amable.
Very much. Our next speaker is Rob Uresti. The subject is concerns.
Roberto Ureste, 1220, Calle Plutón, La Galaxia. I was approached by 2 individuals, not in the school district or anything, and the concerns were, and I took this concern to the mayor and the commissioners and Mr. Rodriguez, who is the chief of the police department. It seems like the BISD is giving out traffic tickets, and so is Texas Southmost College. The question I told the mayor is, who's getting this money? There is no answer. They won't give me an answer. This has to stop. The reason? BISD is for the students, the schools. for protection, not to be outside the boundaries of the school system, giving out tickets in Riverside, on Military Road. Something is wrong, and this shouldn't happen. I wrote an article in the newspaper, it should come out this week. If a policeman from this organization stops me, I will call 911, as I told the mayor, and say, there's a man with a gun stopping me. Let's see what happens. Because that same statement was used at the Cummings. A man with a gun. So you need to look at this, because I said, who made the deal with the BISD? Their security, not police officers of the city. The second thing I want to talk about is cutting your budget in order to fulfill some individuals that work for the BISD, especially the drivers, because only 32 hours is not enough. You should cut down on the utilities, and I've seen it, abuse. You have too many bus stops, especially on 802, the bus stops 3 times in the same block. They should just put one, and that's it. You also have too many people getting stipends. And that's something. How can a teacher in one department be more important than another teacher getting more money? You're dividing the system. Everyone is equal, not more. Coaches, 27 coaches on the football field. Why? You have a whole team of coaches. Let them play. My goodness, you can cut many things, and you can use that money to pay, not overtime. You can pay the bus drivers extra jobs during the summer. They did it in San Benito when I worked there in the 70s. And they were even hiring teachers to paint. And teachers should not be afraid to work.
Closing comments, sir?
Closing comments, you need to be stopping the tickets giving out to the public.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Our next speaker, Counselor, I'm going to need your help to help me enforce our own rules, because we got several people with the same topics here. John Shergold, Mario Herrera, not quite sure what it says, organization, fund, something or another. Mr. Shergold? Fondo? No, I don't know. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
Counselor.
organization of Fonduro Aurora has assembled tonight. They're here tonight, a little over 100 strong.
Mr. Shergold, if I may interrupt, there's a provision for speakers, but not for other people to come to the podium and provide posters and things of that nature, and it detracts from your comments.
I would go ahead and comply. However, I think we have the First Amendment right to do so, but we want to comply with. Please go ahead and put the poster up.
What we're asking is for the poster to be put away and for only a single speaker to be at the podium to speak, which
Mr.
is what the
Herrera
rules
won't be
provide.
speaking. He's standing next to me. He will not be speaking. He's just standing next to me. Is there a rule against that?
There's not a rule against that, but the poster needs to be moved.
Okay, go ahead and remove the
doesn't
poster.
allow for that.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we've already seen how the school district believes in the First Amendment. With all due respect, we have people in Afghanistan and Iraq right now that have sworn an oath to defend this Constitution, and to put a banner, not to be able to proceed or post a banner, I believe is a contravention to everything that our country stands for. The reason we're here tonight is because my representation in this union is that they're here to be heard. They're here, their voice is here tonight. And they're here tonight, they've peaceably assembled. And I want to make sure that we get a few things straight. The organization run by Mr. Herrera, they are hard-working bus drivers and they're hard-working people. They're the bus monitors and the bus drivers. They do a tremendous job for this district. They have an issue, and the issue is that they believe that their rights of freedom of assembly and peaceably marching is somehow being infringed by the school district, by its administration. information has come to me that the municipal court prosecutor was contacted by someone here in this administration. I don't know who it was or who it is, but that I was informed today by Mr. Robert Lerma, the city prosecutor for the city of Brownsville, that someone in this administration approached him to talk about possibly filing criminal trespassing charges against Mr. Herrera and the union he represents. Shame on whoever that was. This is basically not going to stand. We're not going to be intimidated. If someone wants to peacefully assemble, they shouldn't be, people shouldn't be going around trying to figure out charges.
Yeah, he's permitted. He's not identifying specific people.
Here again, everybody wants to shut me up. I tell you what, I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to shut up for this organization. I've stood up for every little person in this community for 20 years. I'm not going to be quiet no more. This organization had the right to assemble and right to demonstrate. They're doing it for the behalf of the school district. They're not trying to fill their pockets with money, as some people try to say they are. They're doing it because of the safety of the children and the safety of the employees and the safety of the public in general. They do not believe they should be timed to get to their destinations. They should not be timed to do their inspections. And that is the point here, is that they are trying to do what's in best for the school district, not hurt the school district, but help the school district. And that is exactly the reason why Mr. Herrera is here tonight. And that's the reason why all these individuals stand. They have assembled. They vote. They have friends who vote. They have families who vote. They have other workers who vote. If you think that the administration is going to do this to these workers, it's not going to last. We're going to go forward. We're not going to get into any legal issues tonight because this is not the forum. But I will tell you this, that these individuals, they mean something to this school district.
Time has expired.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have filed a grievance. We'll let the grievance process work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shergill. Our next speaker is Patrick Hammis.
John, you make it tough on me to follow you.
Yeah, well, you've mentioned your subject as transportation.
No, it's transition leave.
Okay.
Transition leave is one of several topics.
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Patrick Hammis, speaking on behalf of the Association of Brownsville Educators. Good evening, Board President Escobedo, Dr. Montoya, members of the school board. At your last board meeting, March the 6th, you all passed policy on transition leave for employees who did not qualify for the sick bank, who have run out of sick days and have suffered catastrophic illnesses, which was a policy that we are fully in agreement with. But nothing's been sent out so the employees can start donating days to these employees. And all we're asking for is for the forms to be sent out. So for those of the employees, and there are some at my campus and others throughout the district, where we can start donating some of our sick days to these people who have been out of days, who have been going up to hospitals, been receiving, for example, chemotherapy, radiation, and other treatments, catastrophic illnesses, and we want to be able to help them out. So we're hoping that the administration can speed up the process on getting the information back to the employees. Would also like to talk about wellness briefly. Wellness is no longer falling under the under the benefits or insurance part of the school district. Employees are complaining that the gym down by Central is no longer open for their use. The question is, will it be, and is it going to be? They would like to have a place where they can go and work out like they have in the past. And so the question is this going to be offered to us as a wellness benefit, or is it not? Touching briefly, okay, we have talked to administration all year long, all through last year on the budget process. We have worked with administration on increasing salaries for this next school year, which is not only just for teachers, but for all employees, including bus drivers. We've also, just as a reminder, worked with administration and the school board to restore the vacation days that were taken away from classified workers, including the bus drivers. And people that work at transportation. And those days were restored by the board. And then finally, I would like to clarify on George, we are asking you tonight, you as a body whole, you as an administration also, to sign the petition. Numerous school boards around the state have agreed that what's being done to the students in the state of Texas and done to the students locally on education funding is not right, is not correct. So we are asking you tonight to sign the petition. Okay? Whether you want to do it after a public audience before you go into closed session, but we are asking you, or if you'd like to do it now, we are asking you as a group to sign the petition. We believe that we're working together with you and with the administration on what's best for the students in our community, and we're looking for your support. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. Counselor? Counselor? Our next speaker is Jessica Croy, I believe, Catwalk to Alton Glore Schools.
Good evening. This is my first time here, so I'm a little bit nervous. I'm just concerned about the schools on Alton Glore, Ituria, Stillman, Ortiz, Manzano. I've noticed that there's catwalks for some schools like Garden Park, I'm sorry, I'm shaky. Garden Park and Cromac, you know, for the students to be able to get across safely. And I'm concerned because that is a very, very, you know, high traffic road, and now they've expanded it, you know, and I see that some students, and there is bus transportation to the school and everything, but I see that some students stay after school, and when there isn't bus transportation, they have to cross that street. And it's a very big concern because a lot of people don't follow the lights that indicate that school is in session or that kids are going to be crossing through there. And it's 50 miles per hour, you know, in the section where the kids have to cross for Ituria, and then it gets up to 55 if you get over to Ortiz and Keller. You know, so that is my concern, and I'm hoping that you guys will consider it. I am trying to speak to somebody in the city to see if this can get done because, I mean, you know, before something actually happens, maybe we should be a little bit proactive and try to see if maybe we can get something done. I don't know if there can be like some sort of like catwalk or maybe some sort of walk light where the students can press, you know, and they can get across safely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Counselor?
The last person listed here is Mr. Galvan. Is that you? Mr. Galvan, are you part of the groups of the individuals who have spoken before?
No, I'm not.
In terms of your topic, so you're not
I'm not.
an
I
associate?
represent a different organization, sir. And we have a matter that is collaterally related, but it's not the same matter. My name is Fernando Galvan, and I do represent Choferes Unidos, which is an organization of bus drivers comprising probably maybe about 80 to 100 bus drivers, and I would like to thank the board for listening to me, something that I probably don't have to do since you have the obligation to listen to me and to anybody else who has signed up for this list. So it's a little bit of a concern to me that you have limited the speakers to 3 minutes and that you are requiring us to all try to speak with one member. And I would like to call to your attention the constitutional implications of that arbitrary demand on your part, not only for our constitutional right to speak, and not only for our constitutional right to assemble, which this is an assembly, but also I would like to call your attention to your obligation to be responsive to these people. You took an oath, a promise. You undertook an obligation to sit there and listen to anybody who wants to come up here and speak, as long as it's not defamatory or offensive. And it seems to me that you are taking that obligation lightly when you are making these arbitrary requirements to the people who you're supposed to be representing. So I'm asking that you take that to heart, please. The position that you have has a lot of benefits, and it has a lot of authority and a lot of power, but it carries with it some parts that probably you don't look forward to, and that is having to sit here every other Tuesday and listen to the people. So do it. That's part of what you undertook when you said that you wanted this position. That's just my preface. I'm here for the bus drivers, for the bus drivers that are Choferes Unidos, and I've been sitting there trying to think of other positions within the school district that carry as much responsibility and as much risk as the bus drivers carry with such little pay. And I can't think of anything. I can't think of any other position within the school district, any other job that carries that much responsibility and that much risk of carrying all of these children every day to and from home and school every day, and the obligations that they have of doing it safely. Now, we read in the paper that the school district is reviewing for additional compensation, according to the Herald. That's the first paragraph. But that's just the introduction. It makes it sound really nice, like you all are considering giving them a raise. But when you read the substance of the article, it's completely different. It says that you all are hiring a consultant, and that this consultant, who apparently has been hired to justify whatever it is that you want to undertake, that's what he's been hired for. He is saying that these bus drivers are getting paid
Expired.
Thank you very much for your comments.
very
sir.
well, and they're not. And so what I'm asking for is that this be the year that you give these people a raise.
Thank you
So
very
thank
much,
you, sir. Your time's
Moving on
expired.
to closed meeting as pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0. Level 3 board grievance number 007-11-12 Acacia Meal. The board goes into closed session.
I'm sorry, but I'm her attorney, and I object to this meeting being called in a closed executive session. I'm doing this for legal requirements. My client believes that she's entitled to
The board reconvenes after closed session. We will be moving the order of the day. Item 9A, the level 3 grievance, will be moved to right after item 11, closed session, before personnel matters, if there's no objections from the board. Moving on to consent agenda, item number 13, recommend approval to authorize administration as to the preferred disposition of 3 Madison Street properties. Open the floor for discussion. Mr. Colunga.
I was not in attendance at the Facilities Committee, and I just wanted to have a brief overview as to the main presentation that was.
Good point. And I guess before we address questions, Dr. Montoya, is there something that you need to say, or presentation, or anything along the lines, or?
On this item in particular, we asked our facilities people, maintenance and operations, to come up with some options as to exactly research what options would be available for that area, those buildings, and then obviously let the board select one of those options. But I don't know if you want to briefly, Mr. Haynes, share that information.
Mr. Haynes.
Thank you. Dr. Escobedo, Dr. Montoya, members of the board. As you know, as you all know, I guess about 2 or 3 months past, we had presented to the Facilities Committee concerning these buildings, and also this past Facilities Committee, we presented again showing the structure of each building as far as what was needed to be done to try to bring them back up to par, or what the buildings, how the buildings were looked like. And we wanted to get some direction from the board members to see what we needed to do to work with these buildings. And we had provided 3 options. Of course, we had shown pictures and everything of the buildings. I know Mr. Colunga, you weren't here during those meetings, but we had shown, made some presentations on it. So basically what we really want is to get some direction as to where all of you as board members want us to do with the buildings, and we provided 3 options. Option A is to obtain quotes for repairing the building in order to comply with existing building codes and obtain the required certificates of occupancy. If you look at page 2, it'll show you the cost of each building, or the estimate cost for the building repairs. The first one is the old attendance and admissions office. You have mold abatement would be about $20,400. Roof repairs would be $87,550. Elevator, $36,865. Plumbing, $97,780. 30. Put something
You don't have to go
across.
through all the items, sir, just the basic.
Okay, the basic
summary.
okay, I'm sorry about that.
I mean, I know you love details and numbers, but.
Okay. Well, basically, if you look at the first one, you have all these items there, and it'll cost us about an estimate of $567,815 to repair. Now, this first building, it's I believe it's a 2-story building, and right now our insurance is not covering this building because of the way it's
uninsurable,
very dilapidated.
Don't put word in his mouth and let him speak.
It's very dilapidated, and basically they're not willing to cover the building. The second one, the Old Health Service Department, you have an estimate of $98,700 to fix it. And then you have the Old Parental Involvement Office, which would be $827,450 to fix that. I mean, $160,925,000, which would come out to a grand total of $827,450. The second option that we've provided you all with would be to declare the buildings as surplus and enter into discussion with Cameron County for the possible transfer of the properties in exchange for work done by Cameron County on other BISD properties. Option C would be to declare the buildings as surplus and prepare for selling the properties. Now, we are working on an RFQ for property appraisal. I think that was one of the forensic audit recommendations, is to look at property appraisals.
Mr. Haynes, just in your estimated cost, is that our people fixing it, our departments, or is that outside hiring of?
Well, it would be a combination of both.
Mr. Colunga, did that kind of answer your question, or do you have a follow-up?
Well, yes, I did. Mr. Haynes answered the question regarding the appraised value of the properties. That's to be determined in the future.
I have a
What was
question.
the past appraisal on it?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Saavedra?
Past appraisal.
No, he's not finished. He's asking a question.
I'm sorry. I
Well,
apologize.
we don't have a new appraisal, but what was the previous appraisal?
Mr. Haynes, the
three
previous
properties
appraisal?
total, or do you have a figure on that?
Dr. Montoya, Dr. Escobedo, thank you. We do not have a pre-appraisal. As far as I know, we can always look for one to see if there is any, but we did use the county appraisal, the value that they had placed on it. But again, that's the county. We would like to do our own appraisal. May I call Mr. Garza up to the front? So I believe he might have
The appraisal?
appraisal value of the county.
Mr. Garza?
Dr. Escobedo, board members, Dr. Montoya. Yeah, at the facilities committee meeting, I did present the total value of the property as the Cameron County District has it appraised at $447,039. This includes the 3 buildings and 2 parking lots.
Dr. Saavedra, do you have a question?
That was it. All right, I got my answer. Thank you.
Peña?
Yes, Dr. Montoya, if I may address Mr. Haynes? Oh, okay. When did you first make contact with the county employee or the county people in reference to the building of making, a trade-off like some kind of work? When did you first make contact with them in reference to, last time you mentioned work repair, parking lot repair, when did you first make contact?
I don't recall when I made contact or when they made contact.
You forgot the last time. Last time when you were at the meeting, and unless you want to answer it, because every time I ask him a question, you lean over and give him an answer. So do I ask you? I'll ask you. Whoever, I can ask whoever. Make it more comfortable. I don't want to make it uncomfortable.
Mr. Garcia?
I can ask Mr. Garcia. Whoever can answer, because at the last meeting, we were told that contact was made. People were here from the county, which means contact was made. And that's what I'm perceiving. So when did we start talking to the people in the county and that you found out about the fact that they were going to trade services for it? When was that contact made and that information made aware to you?
If I may interject, long before you two gentlemen were on board, I mean, we've been in contact with the county for years. I know that I've personally talked to county folks and BISD administrators, so it has been going on for years.
But I'm just asking when he was made aware of that, because when he presented it at the meeting, he said that he had spoken to them and they had told him about making a trade-off with repairs and with jobs, like a parking lot as opposed to the value of the building. So when did you first speak to them, or when did they first give you that information or share that with you?
I believe it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They just mentioned if it was going to go to the board, or what was where I was at with it, or what we were planning to do.
And I guess okay, and I bring that question up because, I mean, I've only been on here 3 years, and I always was under the assumption that before anybody went out to sell a property, to get rid of a property, or make a move on something that needed board approval, it was presented to the board prior to going out and making these negotiations. In other words, I felt like we were putting the cart before the horse. So that's what I'm asking. How do we get that authority to do that?
I'm going to interject briefly, with your permission. I see what you're going, where you're headed.
No, I'm being
and
sincere.
it was a little bit, well, we all are, I think. And I know there was an issue in the committee meeting as to, were you in negotiation, were you not? And I believe very firmly that you don't need our permission to talk to anybody. You need our permission for action, to buy or sell. But for communication, you don't need any of our permission.
Well, that's what I'm asking, Dr. Escobedo. That's what I'm asking.
I just wanted to clarify that in your defense.
I want that to be clarified, and I'm glad you're saying, because that's what I'm sincerely asking. It can be done because there was a question brought up, and no one gave me a clear answer. There was a question brought up, like, why is it that they're going to negotiate when you guys aren't aware? But if you clarify that it can be done, the only time it has to come to us is going to be a final vote to take an action. Then I want that clarified so they don't feel uncomfortable, because I remember how uncomfortable that feeling was, because we were both in the dark. So thank you. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Mr. Aguilar?
Dr. Montoya, in reference, even though Mr. Escobedo is already trying to clarify it, they've been negotiating with the county for years. It's my understanding of that when we voted not to sell this property to the county, and we did it twice. In fact, it's been 8 years since you've been on the board with me, and this is the third time that it's brought up, and twice it's been defeated. I guess now you have the majority. But at that point, to me, in my book, when you say, no, we're not going to do it, negotiation stops there. Every time. At the last facility meeting, I was present, and I even asked Dr. Montoya that he had made a motion that we are negotiating with the county. And hold on, Montoya. And you told me that. I said, no, sir, we're not breaking the law. We haven't talked to anyone. I can't believe that somebody who tells the board that we're negotiating with the county. It's also in tape, in case you people want to go back and listen to the tape. And then somebody tells me we're not breaking the law, we're not negotiating. Now here we come again. So who do we believe? Some saying they can talk anyone they want to. They don't need our permission. Now, whose legal standpoint? Is that Mr. Michel? Sometimes I wonder. You see, I just want to make that clear. What happens, sir?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Just a couple of quick comments. Obviously, boards can have and will have the final decision, and boards can change their mind one way or the other over time on any decision. They can bring back items, they can put closure, whatever. But we were not negotiating. We were asking for information. The county also approached us, and they wanted to find out if the district, would revisit that. And so we were just, and I know through Mr. Haynes and Mr. Garza, there were no formal negotiations. Those, as you said, have to be approved by the district board. And so there was none of that going on. What we were doing was investigating options and costs and what possibilities are there, so we could come back to the board for you folks to tell us which option and which route you wanted those decisions to be made. If you feel, as you stated, that these are properties that we shouldn't sell, that's okay. We can look at the other options to try to repair and where the monies or those kinds of issues might come from.
Well, it's going to be up. Excuse me, I'm still debating with Mr.
Okay, go
if I may, sir.
Yeah.
Conferring, not debating.
Well, whatever.
You have the floor.
It's just the selection of words. That's the beauty about the English language, that we can say, well, I meant to say this. Of course, we're not person, and they can always change it. So again, leave your doubts in our minds. Who do we believe? You see, and it's not just for me. I'm just one vote, Dr. Montoya. We have 7 people here that represents the community, not I. But I just thought I'll mention that, sir.
Well, thank you. And now that we clarified that, I hope, Mr. Aguilar, you bring out a good point that in the past, I mean, I don't remember exactly, but you saved twice. We voted this down. I mean, that exactly reinforces my point. We keep doing nothing. Meanwhile, the buildings keep deteriorating and are worth less and less, and nobody's benefiting. That's why I would like to see somebody, whether it be us or the county or anybody, benefit from them. Mrs. Longoria?
And after Ms. Longoria, I would like to have...
You can go ahead and answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I can wait. I'm not going anywhere. We're not
Go
going
ahead, so
anywhere.
you don't forget.
I don't forget. I'm 72 years of age, but I don't forget. No, you're correct. It's been 8 years, but during that time, sir, those buildings were being used by the nurse, which was the director of nursing, and also by attendants. Yes. Okay. I'm telling you the truth.
I always believe
because they probably don't know it, you see. And you also, the main building, there was the cosmetology, and a former superintendent moved it to Webb. That when that building became open, then the adjacent office were being used by attendants, home visitors, Adan Salinas, the late Adan Salinas. And the parental also was being used by adult basic parental involvement. That was a packed building. I mean, they had several officers. So all those offices were being built. The only time that building became unoccupied, whatever you want to call it, not occupied, was when the central administration building opened up and they moved those people for some reason that later funny. After those people were moved, the second time to sell the buildings to the county came across to the board and we turned it down. See, this is my point I'm trying to do. Now, it remained closed, and I was looking at the figures, Mr. Haynes and Mr. Garza. Is Mr. Garza out there? You see, and Ms. Mrs. Peña mentioned that how many of these are, oh no, let's do you, doctor, home, are people going to do the labor and say the mix? You see, and I hate to tell you this, but a former administrator had better figures than this. And that man had done a lot of construction work for this BISD. There were no plans to fix the upper section of the building, you know, where the old, what was it, superintendent's office and the credit union, all those things. The bottom, top building was not going to be used except the bottom one. This is why they cost the elevator, unless we were going to plan to fix the upper section of the building, the elevator would be used. And also this parental involvement office, even though it says here $160,000, I think it could be less if we would do our own work. Basically, that's what I wanted to tell you.
And again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but with due respect, we just need guidance from the board as a group. That's the bottom line, and with due respect, Dr. Escobedo, you're right. The longer we wait, issues keep growing, and we just need guidance on those facilities.
Mrs. Longoria?
Yes, getting back to negotiating or talking, you know, by policy, the superintendent has the authority to sell or to look and to negotiate should he or she see a land or a building that he might be interested in purchasing, and then bringing that information to us. And this information was brought to us at a facilities committee meeting. It was not brought up to us at a regular board meeting for action. So, and Mr. Haynes, you know, just used the wrong word. He said negotiated, which he really meant. And, you know, and I don't think it's fair for you to imply otherwise. Not like, who do we trust? We need to trust our administration, Mr. Aguilar.
Well, Ms. Longoria,
I have the floor. We should respect their recommendations and their information that they're bringing to us. We need to listen to them. The way we need to listen to everyone out there, we need to listen to administration as
and
well.
I want you to follow the same guidelines.
Thank you, Mrs.
Yes,
Longoria.
I do.
You know, because we pretty much are having the same discussions again, I'm going to take it upon myself to actually make a motion.
Sir, I have one thing that please is...
Last final comment.
Yes, that's the final comment. When I ask, hey, if you ask, you get to Rome. I know that building is like really old. At one time, they were going to make it, Dr. Mota, they were going to put our TV studio in there, but then that didn't happen. it's the superintendent was there, secretary, even Lucy worked there a long time ago. So it's an older building. Is there any way we can look? I mean, come on, we're retired, so
Even Lucy worked there? Wow.
yeah, Lucy worked there. So she's still around. That's really good news.
Still around.
Thank God. So my point is there any historical value on these things where we can? Because we have the old courthouse there, we have the old jail there, and everything's gotten restored. They're being used by other entities, but they exist under historical value. Can we see if there's anything in there that would protect that could come in and have us get some funding? I mean, all I can tell you is no.
Mr. Haynes, are they historical buildings? They're not, are they?
Well, they are to the people that work there.
Dr. Montoya, Dr. Escobedo, there's only one building that on the outside is a two-story, but it's when you talk about historical buildings, there's no funding. What happens when you qualify a building as a historical building, you have to follow certain guidelines. If you're going to plan to fix it, you're going to have to pay more money to make it the way it should be as far as being historical. So sometimes, if you keep the building and you want to remodel it, it's going to cost more than what actually we've come up with the estimate, because you do have to. And there's only one building that, according to the last presentation that the county or the city, I believe the person that identifies the buildings came by, had informed us on. So in a way, it's kind of what is it? Double jeopardy. You want to have a historical building, but at the same time, are you going to be ready to pay or to spend the money to bring it up? There is no money that the city or the county or the federal government or anybody is going to give you.
Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Haynes.
if I may finish with this, I just want to make sure that everyone in the county, and I say this very a broad statement, looks at us as a golden chicken, but they don't want to give us money for stuff. They want to take it. I just want to make sure that we get as much as we can for what we have, because it goes back to our students. We owe them that. We're not here to cut any deals or take any breaks from anyone. We're going to get the full market value, if not more, because this is for our kids, for our students. This is for the administrators, for the teachers, for everyone that works for the district.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Peña. Going back to my motion, I'm going to move to declare these buildings surplus and enter into formal negotiations with the county to try to get as much in-kind value as we can. Do I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second, with the fact that it would cost too much money for us to go in there and repair, and we have to start spending our money in other areas where we have security problems and issues and concerns. So we got to make sure that the safety of our children is our foremost priority. So I motion that.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion
Not at this time.
passes 4-3. Perezas, Escobedo, Longoria, Saavedra in favor, and the rest opposed.
You
Moving
want to
on
name
item
us?
17, recommend approval of payment of $8,220.94 to Walsh, Anderson, Brown, Gallegos, and Green. I'll open the floor for discussion. Actually, yeah, Mrs. Longoria?
Yes, Dr. Montoya, this is item 17, right?
Correct.
How long has this case been going on?
Dr. Montoya?
I think, let's see, Leandra, I know you've looked into some of that, and to try to put closure on this, Ms. Ortiz, if you'd share that, please.
Yes. I just would like to, Ms. Longoria, just to let you know that items in the background there, 2 and 3, LF versus BISD and LG versus BISD have already been resolved.
Right.
And the other continues, and I believe is set for trial relatively in the near future.
Okay,
so
but how long has this case been going on?
Is that the
Michael Allen.
that was filed in either November or December of 2010?
Okay, and since we already have an in-house attorney and Mr. Michelle as well, can't they handle this case instead of having to pay another attorney firm?
I guess maybe Ms. Ortiz, is that a reasonable
Option?
request, an option?
what I would suggest at this point in the in the litigation is that since it's been filed since 2010, several depositions have been taken, but without going too deep into that, it would be having to catch up with someone new, having to catch up with what's already been done, and it's very near completion from what I
Well, my
understand.
concern is, Dr. Montoya, is we have Walsh Anderson working on this case, and he has been communicating with Ms. Ortiz and also Mr. Michelle. So we're here paying 3 different attorneys for the same case. So, I mean, how much longer is this going to continue? Now we go to court? Can you?
Ms. Ortiz.
Ms. Longoria, and I did want to make a note to the board that this is the attorney that was designated by the insurer. And so at this point in time, that would be the one that is able to designate who would be able to continue or not continue.
Okay.
So as far as how much longer it will take, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. We
Okay,
would have to
so
put that to Walsh
In
Anderson.
the future, can we have who is the attorney? Is that Mr. Mike Saldana?
Yes.
Handling
Yes.
this case? Can we have him come and give us an update and
Yes.
present to us?
We could, at the next board
Invite him?
meeting, have him here for an
Be nice.
update and not only an update, but the closure issue, when that might be finished up.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that said, do I have a motion to approve item 17?
Move to approve.
I have a motion, Mrs. Peña, seconded by Mrs. Dr. Saavedra. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 21, discussion, consideration of possible action.
18.
I'm sorry, moving on to item 18. Recommend approval to pay for the National Hispanic Caucus of School Board Members membership for July 1st, 2012 through June the 30th, 2013, the amount not to exceed $373 from local maintenance budgeted funds. I'll open the floor for discussion. Mrs. Peña.
It's only $375 for the whole year? Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
That's like
They
nothing.
take donations, too.
I just want to make, wow, I've never seen an organization be so.
Is that a motion to approve?
Yes, I just want
have
to
a
make sure
motion
that
by
was
Mrs.
correct.
Peña, seconded by Dr. Saavedra. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Now, moving on to item 21, Mrs. Peña, this is a little more than $300. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to pay the annual membership dues to the Brownsville Chamber of Commerce in the amount not to exceed $5,000 from budget local maintenance funds. I'll open the floor for discussion. Dr. Saavedra.
Yes, I just wanted to know what, do we get an update on the services that we receive from the chamber? What does the membership entail?
Dr. Montoya.
At this point, we basically are included in advertisements that the chamber does through their process on what's available in the community. The chamber's goal is to deal with business and industry and to try to encourage that group to come into the community because it brings funds and jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So we become part of that process, but also we're invited to any meetings or trainings or activities that they have. You know, I know that those are some of the upfront areas. Plus, they share any other information that may come in that they feel is valid to the school district. But if the board would like, we could have their director come over. We could postpone that one and have them, you know, give us an update as to what services they do and that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that would be good for all these, I guess, where we are spending that amount of money, for them to come and either give a presentation or something, just so that the community can see the benefits of belonging to. I know the chamber is very important, don't get me wrong, but I think that we need an update and a presentation maybe of some of the services and some of the perks that help the district become part of the chamber, because a lot of times the community may not be aware that it is an important entity that we belong.
Maybe tabling that one for the next meeting.
We can invite Mr. Aguilar.
Well, you know, the chamber is a very important.
Absolutely.
Hey, hold on, ma'am. Ya ves, when I speak, everybody wants to keep me quiet.
No,
So
I'm
now-
just agreeing with you, sir.
Just saying.
But you know
Amen.
what? But you know what? Every business in the community belongs to the Chamber of Commerce. Not 100%, but majority of them. And like Dr. Montoya talks about advertising, but also they advertise school district, and they also recruit members to read to our schools. All they need to do is call the Chamber of Commerce, and they provide readers for our campus to do that. And not only that, but like he said, that they put up pamphlets on the school district. And I think it's a plus simply because all this literature that the Chamber of Commerce sends, not only to here in the state of Texas, but all over the United States, informs positive information about the school district. And that encouraged some of our industries to come into the city. And that is and they work very closely now. Now that we have another item here on the United Brownsville. See, they're the ones that also are advertising our school district, trying to bring in industry. So our young people, the 80%, that sometimes I feel that we don't do enough to find jobs for them or train them in our school district, and that's what the Chamber does. And then, of course, we have Mrs. Brown here that perhaps she can give us more information on the Chamber of Commerce, because if we're going to do this, Dr. Saavedra, see, we donate a lot of money. To now we got $30,000, right, including the United Brownsville. But then we also have the zoo. We have the Brownsville Historic Museum. We have the Confederate Air Force, isn't it, that we also give. Oh, my goodness. We have the college, close to $49,000, that we provide so they can provide service as to Kids Vote program. And yet they have the program, and yet our teachers, our coordinators in the curriculum department are the ones that go around the school district doing this. So if we're going to table this to know more information, I would rather see that all these services that we provide money to them, to have sort of like a conference meeting sometime, and each of them come and explain to us. Because that is not only one, because it seems like to me we just, on the Chamber of Commerce, it's like we're picking on someone when we have all these entities that we're donating to our community.
And that was my point, Mr. Aguilar, and I agree with you. That's why I was, giving the amen. Because we do give to a lot of organizations, but what I'm saying is that we don't get a lot of the feedback. We may know, because we sit on the board and we know the value of it. But I think in making the presentations for the community so that they see when these items do come up and we're spending this amount of money, that we see the importance behind it and that it's, that it's reported and the benefits that we are getting from these entities. That's all. That was my question, and I was going to ask the same one for the next one, and that was the reason why.
So I guess we have several options, because I in a perfect world, I wish we would all be happy. Yeah. We could postpone it, or we can approve it and actually place them on a conference presentation the next time.
Yeah, I don't have a problem, because we see the value of belonging. I don't see the problem in tabling, but I would like some kind of presentation in the future for these entities.
Dr. Saavedra and Mr. Aguilar, I think you have a good point that if you pass it, that would be good, but we could set up at one of the very near future meetings, maybe several of the entities, to share what services they offer our students, our school, our district, etc. Because obviously your point was well taken. We do belong to several agencies and entities and approve budgets and give them money. So, and I think deep down, you're correct, Dr. Saavedra, we know what it is, but in general do others, but we could set that process up.
An idea would be to actually have a list of all the entities that we actually donate to, and actually call a special call board meeting for nothing but presentations from these entities.
That would be a good one.
Because it seems like we have several of them. Mr. Aguilar?
Yeah, in fairness of these agencies that we said how we benefit from them, I think the initial approach to the board is when they came a few years ago and made the presentation asking, soliciting money. Of course, the latest one is United Brownsville, and prior to that, it was University of Texas Southmost. But perhaps also, as you mentioned, have some kind of a conference. Perhaps they should do it every 3 years or whatever it is, because there's always change of board members and not aware of some of the things, or administration for that matter. They're not familiar with this. And so if there's a cycle, We don't need to be asking, well, can you come over and whatnot, because it becomes an automatic procedure that we have.
Well, if these are annual dues, we can have an annual special call board meeting for nothing but presentations from all these entities that we donate. I mean, any further discussion? If not, I guess I'll open the floor for a motion.
Move to approve. To pick one table, well, I guess, so we can bring them over and they can, or
I think we're okay with approving.
to approving all of them?
I move to approve.
I have a motion by Mrs. Peña, seconded by Mr. Aguilar to approve item 21. Do I have all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 22, discussion, consideration, and possible action to pay United Brownsville annual membership fees to the, actually, it's not to the city of Brownsville, it's to United Brownsville in the amount not to exceed $25,000 from budgeted local maintenance funds. I'll open the floor for discussion. Dr. Saavedra, I guess it was the same concern?
Yeah, it was the same.
Okay.
Move to approve.
I have a motion.
I had a concern too.
Mrs. Longoria?
Yeah, on this one, I have a concern with the amount that we're having to pay for an annual fee of $25,000. You know, when here we are saying that we need the money for our students and employees, and nothing personal, and you know, I do believe in working together with the other entities in our community. But right now, I feel that we're not in the situation where we could be paying $25,000 for a membership fee.
Well, I think to answer probably a lot of our questions, I know we have the director here, the executive director, and I believe his boss is here. So, Ms. Dr. Montoya, would it be okay to call them over to the podium?
Just to answer questions.
And just, I don't know if you want to speak a few minutes, or do you want to take questions?
I guess it would be appropriate for me to do a quick overview of United Brownsville. Several years ago, the effort started with a project called Imagine Brownsville. And the idea was to do a community-wide comprehensive plan. It was really marked by being the largest public engagement process in Brownsville's history. We had, over 44 public forums. Over 1,000 citizens actively participated in a lot of the sessions. And the goal was to really define what the future vision of Brownsville was. And in 2009, the city actually adopted the Imagine Brownsville Comprehensive Plan. It was actually won an award with the American Planning Society in 2009. But instead of it being a plan that sat on the shelf collecting dust, the idea was, how do we actually move towards implementing some of the strategies that were identified that moves us forward towards the vision identified by citizens? And that's where United Brownsville came in. Through 2010, United Brownsville was starting to be created. And in actually January of this year, United Brownsville was actually designated by IRS as a 501c3. The current members, we have a 27-member board. The only voting members are the 8 public entities, which include the City of Brownsville, the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation, the Port of Brownsville, Brownsville Public Utilities Board, BISD, UTB, and TSC. Back in September, we actually adopted our first implementation plan, which really highlighted what the visions were of the community, but more importantly, what are the strategies that filled the gap. If you look at the handout that we shared, on the front where it talks about the framework, the overall framework for United Brownsville is that we pretty much empower the collaboration between all the public entities. We help develop a strategy that's community-wide. As emerging issues come up, we help with the data analysis. We help bring people together for dialogue, and more importantly, we help guide action going forward. If you look at the back, where it talks about the strategy map, to me that's pretty interesting. Is at the very top of it is the citizen vision perspective, which in this case it's our top goal here to increase citizen opportunity for wealth and well-being. And to accomplish that, we need 2 things. We need a strong local economy, and we need a quality community. So under that, we have 12 items that citizens in this community have identified that, yes, this is a priority for us. Saying that they want a prosperous community, they want a healthy community, they want an equitable community. So now the challenge is, well, how do we accomplish that? And if you go down to the section that says initiatives, we have 10 initiatives that we're working on. And as you can see, they range from evolving our economy to strengthening our community to building on our assets. If you can see on that section, education and human capital is one of those initiatives. The powerful thing about it is, when we're looking at some of the data from 1980 to 2010, the Brownsville community population actually doubled. We went from 85,000 to 175,000. But the other thing that's interesting when we looked at some of the numbers is compared to the rest of the United States, here in Brownsville we have a very young population. In fact, almost 30% of our population is currently in the BISD system. So the challenge for us as a community is, as these people start to hit or enter our local economy, what kind of jobs are they going to have? Where are they going to live? What type of community are they going to get to enjoy? So by bringing all the entities together around community strategies, that's where we start to identify what are the issues that we need to move our community forward. Whether it's, how can we bring in higher paying jobs? What are some of the challenges to that? A lot of the issues you deal with here are on education, but yet a lot of the decisions that are made here impact how we're able to evolve our economy. Also, a lot of decisions that are made outside, whether it's our public safety initiative, our civic initiative, really impact the environment that the students that you guys teach that they come from. And that's the overall framework, is really to empower the collaboration to move our community forward. Last year we had Bruce Katz from the Brookings Institute come here during the Vista Summit, and he said a pretty powerful statement, which he said, if you look across the United States, the communities that are thriving are the communities that are collaborating. It's that simple. Not too long ago, I was in North Carolina for Partnerships for Post-Secondary Success, which is a $1.5 million grant that we got from the Gates Foundation. And one thing that we heard from the Lumina Foundation and Gates is that they want to see collaboration. The communities that collaborate are the ones that are going to get funding going forward. Because they really want to see a community-wide impact on education, a community-wide impact on housing. And that's what we're working to do, is build that framework of collaboration. I think that's pretty much my quick summary. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Mrs. Longoria, did he address some of your concerns, or do you have other questions?
Yeah, can you tell us how have you helped us in the education area?
I think for education, we pretty much adopted the Partnerships for Post-Secondary Success as our education module. And that's a pretty powerful one because it brings together BISD, UTB, TSC, the private sector, to really see how can we align the requirements in our private sector. In other words, what are the employers needing? What type of skills are they needing? Because the end goal is not just getting that high school diploma or even the college diploma or the certificate. The real goal is to have students have a quality job and have a quality career when they get out. And that's what we're trying to do, is do that alignment to where, along the, you're to look at our from K-12 through post-secondary education, if you were to look at it as a human capital supply chain, what can we do to make that more efficient to the employers? Not just the current employers we have here, but we're looking into the future of our community and say, well, how can we position our community to really bring in new sectors that would bring in new opportunities for employment. The number I said earlier is pretty significant. If you have 50,000 students going through the system, at the end, the goal should be to have a quality career as an option, so that they don't have to move out of the area to get that quality job, and we're able to retain that talent. And that's one thing we've kind of seen is, I think there's a lot of people that would love to stay in the community, but because of the local economy, they're just not able to find sometimes the job that's in demand with their degree. So the goal here is to evolve our economy and tie it with education to see how we could really align the two. And again, more specifically, going forward, if we're looking to capture more, whether it's foundation money or even federal and state money, they want to see collaboration. Those are the ones that can really show how they're working together across multiple entities to bring in that money, and also indirectly, some of the other initiatives. If we work on evolving the economy, then it does also improve the overall ad valorem value in the community, which impacts a lot of the public entities. So it's really about how do we move together on a common strategy to really use the resources we do have to meet the needs of our students and our families in the community.
And I can attest to Mr. Gonzalez that they do meet quite regularly. They often, in fact, pretty much always invite Dr. Montoya and invite me. And there's a lot of collaboration between entities, and they are quite active in like what he mentioned, in searching for foundation money and whatnot. I recall the beginning of this project when there was actually a lot of community participation. There were a lot of surveys, a lot of visits, a lot of group meetings just with community members, general public, to get their feedback and put together different graphs and statistics to try to pinpoint what exactly were the biggest concerns, the biggest needs, the biggest weaknesses, strengths, so on and so forth, and utilizing all kinds of high-tech formulas, come up with with some graphs and tools that give direction. Recently, there was a pretty extensive a report by Patton Boggs that was very, very detailed and very, very, very good. So they are trying. Any Mrs. Longoria?
Yes, I have two more comments. I didn't notice Brownsville Community Development here. You're not in partnership with it, or Brownsville Economic Development?
Well, the Greater Brownsville Incentive Corporation, they're actually the funding entity of the EDC. So GBIC is our board member, but in reality, GBIC is also like the EDC's member. So, for example, we do have representation from the GBIC chair and from the Economic Development Council through Jason Hiltz, who sits on our board.
And do you feel that this organization is getting positive feedback from the outside businesses or other entities?
Yes, I do. The real challenge is, if you ask most citizens, they say they crave collaboration between their public entities. And as we all know, sometimes collaboration is something that's easy to talk about and very hard to do sometimes. But what this does is it allows our community leaders to come together. And it's not just the board itself. Each one of the initiatives that we list here has a task force that range between 10 to 20 people who are citizens, just willing to volunteer their expertise in a chosen field, and they're engaging to make a positive change in the community. So right there is over 100 citizens involved in the process right here. But again, you need a backbone organization. You need some kind of structure so that their efforts are actually productive. A lot of the efforts that we're working on is one effort on Civic is how do we better organize our volunteers to really meet the needs that are rising in our community, whether it's doing more mentorships or really doing more, engagement with the community itself. So, we have, I think every month we have a board meeting. It's open to the public. The neat thing about that is there's a good change of ideas that's going on. Our next board meeting is on the 9th. The Port of Brownsville will be making a presentation talking about their job activity that's going on out there. But more importantly, they'll be talking about where they see the direction of the port into the future, given some new opportunities that have come up. Especially recently, the United States and Mexico signed an agreement to do more exploration out in the Gulf. So there's an opportunity there, and the question is, well, how do we capitalize on it? Well, without having a framework of all the public entities working together, it's a little bit tough to kind of round everybody up. But if you already have that framework in place, then it's a lot easier to chase down those opportunities.
And just on a side note, Mr. Gonzalez is a former mayor, so he has somewhat of an understanding of the political process and the importance and need of collaboration between entities. I'm sorry, Mr. Aguilar, you had a question?
No, I don't have a question, sir. I just want to also the impact we have with the school district itself. I think this is the first firm initiative that brings all entities in the city of Brownsville. If you recall, there's always someone in our community that will always say, kids graduate from high school, they can't read and write, or they don't have these skills. And in our school districts, no offense, but those are facts, that we concentrate on the 20% of our students on these magnet and engineering schools, spend millions of dollars. But see, what happens to the other 80% of the seniors that graduate from high school? See, they either go college, they join the service, or they start working for minimum wage, sometimes unemployed. And see, what this organization is trying to do is to get all the educational entities together and come up, say, where are we know those in our community, they go to the schools, to the university. So when they graduate,
on our implementation plan, so it's kind of a unique opportunity to see the community leaders there and the volunteers, and just kind of share and exchange information.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Sir,
Mr.
we
Aguilar?
got, oh, sorry.
Ms. Peña, just for your information, is that the board itself.
I know that.
Yeah, well, I just thought
Why did you pick me to
Okay, break it up. Sir, thank you very much for
Because you're
joining
my
us.
friend, right? And you know.
And be ready to come with a more formal presentation in the near future.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and I do like the idea about having a more tailored presentation to
With a
to the board.
PowerPoint type so they can see some.
And Dr. Escobar, I think we got an invitation or something because I have it on my
Yeah, but
schedule.
we are well represented.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't expect you to say anything less.
Final comment?
You better
Mike
not.
Gonzalez.
Mr. Gonzalez, I know that the Port of Brownsville is expanding its width and its depth because for the future that they're preparing to be able to bring bigger vessels and so forth. All I ask, we're sacrificing this money for the organization. Trust me. And I think that what we expect is let's move forward in a more rapid pace, and let's go out there, do what we got to do, and just bring back and report to us, because it is our children's future that it's at stake here, and we need to make sure that we have jobs for them and that our community betters itself. Okay? Thank you.
I agree.
Dr.
Thank you,
Escobar.
Mr. Aguilar.
And on the same line that Ms. Perez is talking about to speed up the process, I would like to recommend to Dr. Montoya to start looking at these trade shops in our school district. Instead of deleting them, look into them what is needed, you see? And what happened to those equipment that when those shops were closed? Thank you, sir.
Good point. Thank you very much.
I'd like to emphasize, Dr. Escobar, on that, please. I really want to emphasize, not everybody is going to earn a PhD and be working in an office. We need your labor.
Thank you very much. I'm moving on to
more
item
money than we
24, recommend approval of budget amendment number 105 in the amount of $1,340,000.52 for Fund 224, Idea B Formula, additional funding. I'll open the floor for discussion. Mrs. Longoria.
Yes, I just one quick question, Mr. Garcia or Dr. Montoya. I noticed it says here for student needs, that these monies can be used for student needs. Can you give me examples as to what kind of needs?
It is additional funding, which is a plus for us, but Mr. Garcia, go ahead.
Yes, Dr. Montoya, Dr. Escobedo, to answer Ms. Longoria's question, this money is actually coming under Fund 224, which is the federal Idea B. All of the federal money that comes under Fund 224 is used to pay our personnel costs.
Okay.
So 100% of this is used for personnel, and if you notice, everything is put under Function 11, which is the teachers.
Because it said student needs, so just means teachers, right?
Right.
Getting them teachers.
That
Okay.
is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve item
Move to approve.
24? Motion by
Second.
Mrs. Peña, seconded by Mrs. Longoria. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Mr. Colunga is not present. Moving on to item 27, recommend approval of budget amendment number 108 in the amount of $7,545,184. $7,545,184. Fund 289 Texas Literacy Initiative, new funding. I'll open for discussion. Dr. Savera.
No, I got it.
Grant.
And Dr. Saavedra, we actually have teams in Houston right now as we speak that are working on the plan for implementation at their campuses. So as you stated, it's a very positive thing.
Second.
A motion by Dr. Saavedra, seconded by Mrs. Presas. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passed unanimously. Mr. Colungas is not in. Moving on to item 28, recommend approval to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the University of Texas, Brownsville. I'll open for discussion. Dr. Saavedra.
That was the same thing, just a comment to congratulate the school district for moving to the 21st century to make all our
Right.
high schools early college, so.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. We're doing a good job. Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Saavedra, seconded by, I think it was Mrs. Presas. All in favor, raise your
Aye.
hand. Motion passes unanimously. Item 30, recommend approval of change order number 01 to amend the owner contract agreement with Spalglass Contractors Incorporated, Harlingen, Texas, for the Hannah High School Performing Arts Instructional Facility. Open for discussion. Mrs. Longoria.
Yes, this one, I want to congratulate Montoya and Mr. Garcia, Mr. Facilities, Mr. Garza. Thank you for listening to us.
Good job.
And motion to approve.
The change orders that we,
Correct.
Thanks, Smiley, too, while we're at it.
Second motion by
I had a motion by who?
By Ms. Longoria. Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Presas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Colunga still not in. Moving on to item 31, recommend approval to sign the attached amendment to the contract for construction for and establish procedures for off-site storage of construction materials with Peacock General Contractors LP of Harlingen, Texas, to grant off-site storage for the Lopez and Rivera High School Science Laboratory additions described in the amendment document. I'll open the floor for discussion. Mrs. Longoria.
Yes, on this one, I notice under fiscal implications, it says none at this time. Is there going to be a cost later on?
Mr. Haynes, if you want to explain that, please.
Haynes.
Dr. Montoya, thank you. Dr. Escobedo, members of the board. No, there is no cost to it.
You haven't been negotiating anything?
No, never did.
He'll learn never to use that word again.
I don't recall.
Who's going to pay for buying these storage or
Is the story of your life, Mr. Haynes?
I'm sorry.
You never recall.
are we buying storage
Who's,
buildings or something, or we're just using these other areas to store our material?
No, basically, they use the school site, but once the school site is too small, you can't place any storage there. They have a site. The construction company has a site where they take the items that they need.
So they're not going to charge us for storing?
No, they won't charge us to move them, or they won't charge us to store them or
store 'em.
anything else. Right.
Okay.
I have one, and the liability for that as far as.
my question.
If it's
It's theirs.
We're using the insurance policy that's the one that's going to be covered.
It's the construction.
The construction
Any
company.
other comments or
will-
questions?
Okay.
I have a
Second.
motion by Dr. Saavedra, seconded by Mrs. Peña to approve item 31. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. We now go into closed meeting as pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 and 551.082 to review Level 3 Board Grievance Acacia Emil.
And
The board reconvenes after closed session on Level 3 grievance number 007/11-1 to Acacia Emil. Counselor, you want to kind of give us a little bit of a guidelines what we're doing?
Okay. At this point, we're making closed session. Point the board can deliberate its decision at this point and vote either today or at the next meeting. The absence of a vote after the next meeting would mean that you're upholding the decision at level 2. And so you can begin your deliberations.
Okay, with that said, I'll open the floor for deliberation. Anybody has anything to say, comments or questions? No? If there are no deliberation, I'll open the floor for a motion, if there's a motion.
Mr. Escobedo.
Mr. Aguilar?
Yes, I would like to ask Dr. Montoya a question.
Dr. Montoya?
I noticed that during the discussion says a climate survey was made. Is that a standard procedure for the district?
Dr. Montoya?
It's not a standard procedure, but I think we had gotten feedback that there were some concerns, and so the feeling was, let's just see what's going on and get information and go from there, whether it's positive or negative.
Yeah, because we have other concerns, other campuses in the past, and no climate survey was ever done or put anyone on administrative leave. So I'm just wondering what prompted this climate survey, because you have received many complaints about other campuses from teachers and whatnot, and I don't recall ever having a survey because there were some concerns about personnel and administrators.
Dr. Montoya? It was an administrative call? Okay. Any other deliberations?
I have one question. Under the policies, you do have that right. Am I correct?
That is correct.
As an administrator, as
That's
a superintendent, that you can.
With or without a survey, that's correct.
Okay. So, and you feel that as a superintendent, you did what was best in order for us to be able to move that campus in the direction to move for this coming fiscal year financially, to be able to pull through?
At that point, that was correct.
And for the record, is this campus already maximizing its body count, and are we using it to its full potential versus prior?
Again, the new program is in place, and large numbers of kids, students are starting to enroll. That's begun literally in the last week and into this week. So in a positive way, it is moving forward.
Which means that the administration recommendation for that campus has been a positive for the students of this community and the population that's demanding that field, that profession, or that future career path.
That's correct.
Mr. Colunga?
Just a question on the remedy sought, or a review of the remedy sought.
Mr. Michel?
I think, given it's an administrative body and not a court of law, I think what she's asking is for a return to the principalship at Veterans.
Mrs. Peña?
Dr. Montoya, I noticed you said with or without a survey, it can be done, and the decision can be made to an employee at any time, any given time, any employee. So what was the need, or like it's never been done, and as I heard Mr. Aguilar said, what was the need to have this survey done if the decision could have been done without a survey? Was that just something that you felt more comfortable doing with?
I think we wanted to confirm or disprove some things. The feeling that I got and that administration got in general was that she was not supportive of the STAMP program. And so we decided let's confirm, what the status of that is.
Well, I know one thing was discussed, that there was not a question to there was not an answer to every question that was being asked. So she was referring it to the main office. And the fact that this was developing as we jumped in it, like we jumped into the pool while we're trying to develop how deep it was. So I'm having a little bit of an issue with that. Not all the answers were given by the administrator, and they were referred to main office. And the only reason I have a little question is because there were so many unknowns at the time, because this was just a brand new. Because when I didn't find out about it until you did here, so there was so many unknowns, and I'm just wondering if maybe the interpretation of saying, because I do this to you a lot, so I'm going to be the first one to admit, and you're smiling because I know I do. When they ask me a question, I tell the public, instead of me trying to decipher and say the wrong thing, I refer them to you, and I ask your permission, and I say what I know, and when they ask me what I don't know, I say call him, because I don't want to be the third party misinterpreting what you're saying. So that's the question that I had, because not everything had been answered. There was a lot of unanswered questions of where we were going to go, what we were going to do. And the fact that, real quick, when it says that there was no retaliation or on the, another thing that we discussed, no retaliation on the FMLA, then what is the need of bringing up how many days these people have taken off during the year if there's no need? Because everybody's entitled to that, I thought.
That was not, there was no.
Yes. Were these parents?
Dr.
Excuse me.
Escobedo.
Longoria has the floor.
Yes, I would like to remind our board members that they need to be recognized before they can start talking. I think prior to this meeting, or before we went to executive session, I was out of order, and I think that the same people that tell me that I was out of order, now they're talking about being recognized by the chairperson.
Point well taken, Mr. Aguilar. Mrs. Longoria?
I did have the floor, right? I heard you say, Ms. Longoria. Okay. Were the parents and the students referred to the superintendent to get their answers to their questions, or were they referred to come to the board meeting
Dr. Montoya?
and ask the questions during public audience?
I directly cannot answer that. I know I had a couple of parents on their own come to my office for clarification, but I don't know what the directive at the campus level was specifically, to tell parents to do that.
One more question. Was this survey conducted after we had the crowd here at the main office or before?
Timing.
Does anybody have the answer to that question?
The timing of the survey, was that after the parents came over here? Because I don't remember the exact
It was
time.
after. Was it after?
Was
She
it
has an answer over there.
Dr. Atkinson?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Montoya, members of the board. Ms. Zarate has more of a timeline if you'd like a specific answer.
Mrs. Zarate?
Good evening. Yes, the survey was conducted after the board meeting.
Okay, well, I think that was a good move because you saw how many parents and students were concerned, so you went to meet with them face to face, So I don't see anything wrong with having the survey after after. It was a right time to have the survey, not before.
Mr. Aguilar, you disagree?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. It was apparently during the hearing we understood it was after that board meeting. My concern is this, that even at that board meeting, there were a lot of unanswered questions that even the administration did not know. In fact, I made a comment that I had attended a conference in Houston concerning the STEM program. And I remember Ms. Berta Peña trying to explain it, and Ms. Peña, our board member, said, "Oh, he's a cheerleader, a lot of energy." But even at that point, there was a lot of questions that were not answered. So to me, it boils my mind to say that she was not giving information to students and faculty because she didn't know. But we ourselves and the administration also did not have a lot of answers when we started asking questions. To me, when something is done, it's already perfected and worked at. We don't work by bits and pieces, you see. And that night, when we had all those parents, they were here concerned about that we were going to shut down Veterans Memorial High School to freshmen and sophomores that were not in the STEM program. That is why they were here that particular night. I thought I'd mention that, sir.
All right, so, there's a lot of discussion. I think we've pretty much reached a plateau. We're not really going anywhere. So I'll just open the floor for a motion. Do I have a motion in regards to Level 3 grievance, Acacia Meal? I'll open the floor for a motion.
Is that to uphold?
Well, it's to any motion. You can make a motion to uphold, to grant. I'm simply opening the floor to a motion from a board member. So do I have a motion? Mrs. Longoria?
I motion to uphold at the Level 2.
I have a motion to uphold Level 2 by Mrs. Longoria. Do I have a second?
I'll second to uphold.
I have a
Motion to level 2.
I have a second by Mrs. Presas. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed because we didn't get any
The
information.
motion passes 4-3 to uphold Level 2, with Presas, Escobedo, Longoria, Saavedra voting in favor to uphold Level 3, and the remaining board members vote against. So with that said, we now move on to item 11, closed meeting as pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 et sec, to review personnel matters. The board goes into closed session. guilty, hello.
I think so too.
He's been
The negotiator. That's a new code name, the negotiator.
The negotiator.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I got so many phone calls. Oh my lord, I gotta return like 30. We're gonna be asleep.
The board reconvenes after closed session. Moving on to action items for personnel. Item 33, teachers. Do I have a motion to approve item 33?
Motion.
I have a motion to approve by Mrs. Presa, seconded by Dr. Saavedra. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 34, accountants. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. The item dies for lack of motion. Moving on to item 35, assistant principals. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve. I have a motion by Dr. Saavedra, seconded by
Second.
Mrs. Peña. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All opposed? Motion passes 5-2. With Mrs. Longoria and Mrs. Presas voting against. This is item 35. Moving on to consultation with attorney, item B, consider discussion consideration regarding settlement Rodrigo Lopez versus BISD. To have a motion.
Move to approve and discuss in executive session.
Motion by Mrs. Peña, seconded by
Point of order.
Mr. Colunga.
Before discussing that, don't we have to, I wanted to go on the record for 37.
37, yes, sir. That one was approved by consent agenda.
Well, I'd like to clarify that I did not intend to consent to not discuss it because I did not have the full information on the individual
Is that a
involved.
legitimate way of changing the vote, or will we have to reconsider?
I think the point that Mr. Colunga wants to make would be made by making a motion to reconsider, which of course, though, would require
Majority vote?
someone on the prevailing side, which you were, by mistakenly voting, but then would require two-thirds vote in order to turn it around. But that would be the mechanism.
Correct. So do I have a motion to reconsider item 37?
I make a motion to reconsider item 37.
Motion by Mrs. Peña to reconsider 37. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Aguilar. All in favor? Raise your right hand.
I reconsider. I'm reversing my vote.
All opposed? The motion fails to reconsider.
Mr. President, for the record, I object to the non-consideration of this item for another vote for the purpose of what is considered a routine approval at the beginning would be the consent agenda. And out of courtesy to colleagues, it should be considered that it is an important matter dealing with personnel, and I wanted to state my objection to that being under consent because it is not consent. It is, if I'm the only one against it, then it would have been 6-1.
Your point is well taken, Mr. Colunga.
Dr.
Mrs.
Escobedo,
Peña?
and for the same reason, I concur with Mr. Colunga because when in backup information, we didn't get the disclosure for the initials. Once I asked and I was told that this is something that I'd been asking. It didn't come in my backup, so my vote on number 37 was no. It was not a consent agenda. I agree when we put them in that manner and we ask and we don't get the information and we get busy with something else, it's not fair to us or it's not fair to the employee. For that reason, I do not consent for 37. My vote is nay.
Thank you, Mrs. Peña. Your point is well heard.
Escobedo.
Moving on, Mr. Aguilar.
I also want to object to this, and of course, with the same reason as Ms. Peña and Mr. Colunga.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you.
Moving on to item C, under consultation with attorney, discussion and consideration regarding settlement. Do I have a motion to approve item C, 40C?
Do we do B, sir, before they threw?
I wasn't sure. Do we do B?
You began speaking about it, but we went back to
apologize.
37.
That was my mistake. Okay, going back to item B, 40B, under consultation with attorney, discussion and consideration regarding settlement in Rodrigo Lopez versus BISD. I think I had a motion by Mrs. Peña, no, to approve, discuss an executive session.
Yes, sir.
I had a second, but I don't recall who it was. Who seconded the item? Oh, Dr. Saavedra seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. Aye. Motion all
Nay.
opposed?
Nay.
Oh, didn't we have?
Yeah, we did vote on it.
Yeah, it was 5-2.
5-2.
The other one, the
Okay,
prior
well,
one.
either way, 5-2 with Mrs. Longoria and Mrs. Presas voting against and everyone else voting in favor of the settlement. I don't recall.
No,
action.
no,
action.
none.
The other one we voted on was 35. the one-
Right. And on 40A, I believe there's no motion, correct, Counselor?
That's correct.
No motion.
Okay. Moving on to 40C, under consultation with attorney.
You're right, I
a
stand
settlement. Reese Tarbay, I believe it's pronounced, versus BISD. Do I have a motion?
Motion?
I have a motion by Mrs. Presas to approve as discussed in executive session, and I have seconded by Dr. Saavedra. All in favor, raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to announcements.
No action.
B&E?
No further action under legal.
No further action under
That's
legal.
required unless someone wants to make a motion with regard to some of the
Further
others.
action under personnel, if I'm correct. Moving on to announcements. Dr. Montoya?
Dr. Escobedo, members of the board, there's no other announcements. Again, just as a reminder, the next board meeting is Tuesday, April 17th at 5:30 here in the boardroom.
And also, I know we need to call a special call board meeting for presentations. Dr. Montoya, Ms. Pat, so we might try to set up a date here in the very near future. for
On
special board.
legal firms.
For legal firms,
For legal
yes, sir.
firms. So very soon, I'll visit with you as the board president to look at the calendars.
We'll try to set up a date here in the near future and get those presentations heard. With that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
A motion by Mrs. Garcia,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Peña. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion passes motion passes unanimously. Have a good night.
Night, Brownsville.